Well, welcome back to our program on drug talk. The idea that maybe too many people are spending too much time talking about drugs these days on Facebook and in the news and just about everywhere else as far as I can see. And I've often thought that if there were an alien listening into all the media on our planet, at least in North America, they get this idea that these these things called drugs are responsible for, the crime and oh, accidents and just pretty much all our social problems. It seems to be like a common theme that I keep running into. Most schools, for example, they've adopted this zero tolerance policy because of these horrifying effects of drugs on non-adults, right, on the kids. When the U.S. prison population doubled in the beginning in the 1980s, we know that 80% of them, by some of the statistics I've read, were there for drug-related offenses. So crime, which is profound. In fact, I recall one of the former mayors of the place I used to live saying if there were no crystal meth addicts in his city, there'd be virtually no crime. And interesting little fact, apparently a lot of American law enforcement officials believe that half of the identity thefts in the U.S. are committed by crystal meth addicts. Oh, it's kind of an interesting one. And anyway, all those TV shows, all those real life TV shows, spend just this inordinate amount of time tracking down people using drugs or drinking and driving, and like it's a staple in these police shows, right? So it's all over the place. So all that's getting beamed into the universe, of course. I can imagine what some alien is thinking, looking at all that. And of course, there's a great benefit of raising drugs to this kind of level that's way beyond just an individual using drugs. And one of the great benefits, of course, is that we can all sit back and think, well, our society is actually really great just as it is. The only problem is all those damn drugs, right? That's the problem. That's interrupting everything. And that attitude is kind of interesting because, of course, if you consider the problem to be that, then there's nothing we have to do to change. We just have to get rid of the drugs. A lot tougher to start looking at our own selves and maybe if we play a role. This is now come out much more publicly, this idea that maybe society should start looking at itself. In the popular media, there's that book that Johann Hari wrote, Chasing the Scream. Malcolm Gladwell has written about this in the New Yorker magazine, about this idea that the problem of addiction will only find a solution when society starts changing its attitude towards it. Maybe it's something about our society that's actually promoting and maintaining this thing we call addiction. But that means we have to start looking into ourselves, right? And wondering, geez, are we keeping the stigma of the addiction alive? Are we somehow creating laws that turn people with addictions into criminals and all these sorts of things? But it's an interesting thing, though, that when we just build it up into this big monster that is the creator of all our social problems and destroying the lives of our kids, that we get to sit back and feel a little more comfortable about how things are going on for us. Anyway, that's this episode, and we'll be back next time with the last episode in our series on addiction talk.